For our next session, let me introduce Ashen Wijesinghe, who will be briefing us on exploring new technologies. Over to you, Ashen.
Okay. I think you can see my screen, Lakshana.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And thank you for your great introduction. Okay, let's start the session. So let me introduce myself. Yeah. Okay, let me introduce myself. And I am Ashen Wijesinghe from third year undergraduate at SLIIT. So today today I'm going to talk about few leading technologies in the industry regarding information technology project in your second semester. So I have selected few topics to talk today, and within that, in here you can see my topics. So today I'm going to talk about Microsoft Azure Services, microservice architecture, and Docker and Kubernetes. So let's move on to the Microsoft Azure. So before we are moving to the Microsoft Azure, in here you can see the Microsoft Azure. Before we are moving to the Microsoft Azure, we should talk about other cloud services as well, because most of other cloud services are really equal each other. So there are so many cloud infrastructures out there. As an example, Google Cloud Platform, AWS Clouds, Oracle Clouds, and other cloud computing service providers. And basically, each and every service provider provides equally distributed services as their competitors. So that's a few about cloud infrastructures. So let's let's move on to the Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft Azure, or formerly known as Windows Azure, because it's provided by the Microsoft Corporation, and now it's available all around the world. So that means we can use it anywhere at any time. So basically, Microsoft Azure is a cloud infrastructure, as I previously said. So that provides so many services regarding your personal and industrial projects. And within the services, they have provided so many features like artificial intelligence, machine learning, databases, hosting services, and storages, and many more. So the best way to get an hands-on experience with these services is to quit working and start doing. So let's have a look at what is Microsoft Azure and what are the services. So let's move on to the Microsoft Azure portal. Yeah. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can drop those questions in the chat area. Okay, this is the Microsoft Azure portal. So here you can see there are few services and few things in the screen. So let's have a look. What are the other services and what are they providing to us? Okay, in here you can see in the all services section, they are providing AI and machine learning services, analytics, computer, containers, databases, DevOps, general, hybrid and multi-cloud, identity services, integrations, Internet of Things, management, migration, monitoring, networking, security, storage, web and mobile. Likewise, there are so many services. So today I'm going to today I really want to talk about few services regarding the AI and machine learning. So let's move on to that part, because I really want to show some demonstration, and it's really interesting. So okay, let's move on to the AI and machine learning part. In here, you can see they are providing few services under AI and machine learning. So in here, you can see cognitive services with multi-service account, custom vision, computer vision, face APIs, speech services, translators. Likewise, there are so many things in here. So the best thing is, listen very carefully. The best thing is, if you want to use this kind of service, you only need to know how to use an API. So in the previous sessions, I know that the Thamidu told about the APIs and how they are working. So the best thing is, if you want to use this service, any one of from this list, you only need to know how to use an API, and you don't need to know everything about AI and machine learning. So let's move on to the custom mission. So today I'm going to demonstrate the custom mission part. So in here, let's move to the custom mission. So, okay, this is the custom mission portal. So if you need to create a custom mission, you have to create a custom mission according to your need. Okay. So if you need to create a new one, you have to click this create now button, and it will redirect to another page. So it will take few time. Yeah. In here, you can see a form. regarding to your custom vision service. So there, I mean, yeah. First of all, you have to select what is the purpose of your custom vision. So here you can choose to use the service for prediction or training or both. So basically the prediction is if you can use this service to predict something or train some kind of model. So if you want to, I mean, if you are trying to implement your service to predict something, you can choose here as a prediction, or if you want to train something, you can choose as training. So today I'm going to do both, and I mean, if you want to do both things, you have to select both. Okay, then you have to select your subscription method. As an SLIIT undergraduate, if you have your student developer pack activated, so then you have your student credits with $100 US, I mean $100 along with your Azure account. So then you have to select the subscription method as Azure for Students. So in here, you have to select a resource group. So if you haven't one, you have to create a new one. It's this easy. And if you have to, if you need to create a new resource group, just type some name and just move on. So in here, I have a few resource groups I have already implemented. So I'm going to select one of them. So in here, in this section, you have to select a region. So there are a few regions they are providing. So you have to select one of them. And then you have to put a name. So this is the most important thing. If you are implementing a new custom vision service, you have to put a meaningful name for your service, because this service is the, this is the only way to identify what is this service and what is it doing. So most important thing is the name. So please make sure to put a meaningful name in your custom vision service. If you are using this on your ITP project. So today I'm going to implement, today I'm going to implement a service called pneumonia X-ray scan service, because I'm going to train some model to identify whether the X-ray records are affected or not. I'm talking about, just think about if we are uploading X-ray scan report to the system, we can predict that particular scan reports belong to a normal person or a pneumonia patient. So that's what I'm going to do. So in here, I'm going to put my service name as pneumonia X-ray scans. Okay, I have already typed that because it's gonna take time to type here. Scans service, right? Right. You can see pneumonia X-ray provides subdomain names. Okay, now it's all fine. Yeah, then you have to select your pricing type here. So if you are using your Microsoft Azure credits, then it will show the free tier F4 as a choose in this section, but I have already selected that pricing tier in my previous services. So that's why I couldn't select that one from this list. So I'm going to select this for today, and you have to create the review and create button. If you are clicking this, then it will redirect to a dashboard and it will take few time. So I'm going to demonstrate this part from my previous project. Okay. Yeah, in here you can see I have implemented two services. For in here I have implemented this service for training and this one is for prediction. So I am going to demonstrate the prediction part today. So yeah, in here, in this dashboard, you can see they are providing API keys. As I previously mentioned, if you know how to use an API, you can use this service in your application at any time, at anywhere. So this is the best thing with the AI, Kubernetes services and other things. So let's move on to the custom vision portal. In here, this is the dashboard where we can train our model and we can get our expected outcomes. So let's sign in. Okay, this is the dashboard for the custom mission. So in here, you can see your all projects that you have built before. So this is my project called pneumonia X-ray scan service, as I previously mentioned. So right in here, you can see I have already uploaded few extra scan reports to this service for training purposes, and I have trained this service before. So I just want to use an, I can use this service. I can use this service anytime from now and above. And here you can see the performance of the service. So everything is up and running and everything is fine. So let's take a look how it's working. So this is the quick test dashboard. In here, you have to upload some X-ray scan report to the service, and it will predict whether it is a normal X-ray report or a pneumonia patient's one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. In the directory, I think you can see my screen. So in here, you can see there are two folders called normal and pneumonia. So the normal folder include the normal X-ray, the normal X-ray scan reports, and the pneumonia folder includes the pneumonia patients reports. Okay, so let's upload something as in random manner. So I'm going to upload a normal scan reports to the system. So after I upload this, it will take you time to search and retrieve the data. So it will showing as a prediction the this X-ray scan report belongs to a normal person as a percentage 97.9. So this will predict this scan report is a it belongs to a normal person, right? Let's take a look about the pneumonia patients one. Yeah, you can choose any Excel report randomly. So in here you can see this the probability of to be pneumonia patient is the probability of 77.6, right? So that's all about the cluster vision and its services. So if you want to use this service in your project, you just need to use these API keys in your project. So you can see here, yeah, this is one for the image URL, and this is one for the image file. So you only need to know how to use an API in your project, and then you can use these services in your project. So that's all about the customer mission. And let's move on to the next section in my agenda. So, okay. Then I'm going to talk about the Azure Cognitive Services. So basically, Azure Cognitive Services are provided under the Microsoft AI and Machine Learning Services. So mainly, they are providing 5 main topics regarding this category. So they are providing services under speech recognition, language recognition, vision recognition, decision making, and open AI services. So you can use all of these services in your, the ITP project. Okay, okay. Let's have a look about how the speech recognition works. So under this category, they are providing subtopics, sub-services under this category. So mainly they are providing speech to text recognition, speaker recognition, text to speech recognition, and speech translation. So let's have a look what it look like. In here, you can see the text to speech service. So basically what it's doing is automatically speech recognition service recognize the language, and then it will upload to the natural language processing servers, and then it will output to the text to speech. So you can convert your text commands into speech, or speech commands into text. So that's the main thing. So you can use these service in your ITP project, and also move to the next part. In here, you can see the Azure Cognitive Services for language. So under this category, they are providing 5 main topics. In here, you can see entity recognition, sentimental analysis, question answering, conventional language understanding, and translator. So the most important thing is the translator. So you can use this in your ITP project. In here, I have implemented in here you can see a diagram. So basically what it's doing is, as I previously mentioned, it will recognize the base language, but we want to convert into another language. The host language and the conversion language. So then they will recognize the language and translate that language into the translation language. So that's how it's work. So it's really easy. So the most important thing is, as I previously mentioned, if you want to use this service, you only need to know how to use an API. That's the best thing. Okay, let's move on to the custom vision. So as I previously demonstrated, you have already experienced about custom vision. And under this category, they are providing two main topics also. The first one is the computer vision and the another one is the PACE API. So today I'm going to demonstrate, actually today I'm going to talk about the PACE API and how it's work. So basically this is the way how it's work in our application, the PACE API. So basically PACE API do again, the PACE API works like it to recognize the landmarks of our faces like eyelashes and our shape of our nose and mouth, lip shapes and our face shapes. Likewise, they are recognizable landmarks in our face, and then it will, then it will direct to the Azure servers, and they do all the processing things inside there, and they will provide some reports regarding the uploaded image. So you can use this service in your ITP project as an authentication method. So you can use this PACE API in your login interfaces. Likewise, you can use this in anywhere. So this is how it's work. And let's move on to the next section. So Azure Cognitive Services for decision making. Under this category, they are providing three main topics called anomaly detector, content moderator, and personalizer. So if you want to know more about this, you can go through the documentation and it's available online. Okay, let's move on to the final topic in this, in the Azure Cognitive Services. They are providing Open AI service, so Open Artificial Intelligence service. So this is basically used to detect potential offensive and unwanted content. So you can use this as a service in your ITP project. So that's all about the cognitive services. And yeah, if you want to know more about these things, if you want to know more about these things, and if you want to go through the documentation, and if you want to learn more about these things, you can go through the documentation and it's available online. And please make sure to get some hands-on experience when you are, after you're activating your student developer pack and the Azure credits. Okay, let's, that's all about the Microsoft Azure, and let's move on to the Microservices. So what is Microservices? Right, that's the first question. What is microservices? So microservices can be considered as the building blocks for modern IT infrastructure because microservices are more distributed, bounded, context, and autonomous with independent deployability. So when we talk about microservices, we must consider about monolithic architecture first. So what is monolithic architecture? So I think you are really unfamiliar with these names. So monolithic architecture is the traditional unified model for the design of a software program. As an example, you can get your OOP project in your second year first semester. That was a monolithic architecture project. We used MVC architecture there, but the base of kind of project structure is kind of monolithic. Yeah. Yes. So monolithic in this context means composed all in one piece. So if we are implementing all in one application, so that architecture called monolithic. So monolithic application is an application that is designed to handle multiple related tasks where all aspects of the software operate as a single unit, right? So this architecture is also known as all in one architecture. Yeah, but in the microservices model, components are modular, functional independently. So functional independently means they are separate each other and coupled together as needed for optimal functionality. So move to the next slide. In here, you can see a diagram regarding the microservices. So, okay, take a look at this diagram. So you can really see there is a web application and also there are few services for account service. As example, you can see there is a service called account service, inventory service, and shipping service. So yeah, so you can clearly see in this diagram, those services are maintained separately with separate databases and connected to each other with the use of REST APIs, right? So the main advantage of this microservice architecture is we can maintain and deploy these services separately, and if one of the services got more usable than the other, and if we needed to update the resources for a particular service, we can do it separately as needed without affecting the whole application. Whole production lines. So Also, if one of the microservices got interrupted within the functional time, that will only affect to the particular service only because they are separated by the technology and the tech stack. So we can debug the issue and add that service back to the production without affecting to the whole process. So I mean, with the help of the microservice, we can expand our application and services as much as we need. So microservices, as long as you use API to get interconnected with microservices, the services can be, I mean, the services can be independent from the tech stack and the resources. So basically, what is tech stack? So if you are considering this diagram, you can see here, there are three services called account service, inventory service, and shipping service. In here, we can use separate type of the separate type of backend technologies to implement those services. As an example, we can use the Java to implement the account service, and we can use JavaScript backend to implement the inventory service. And also we can use a kind of Python backend called Django to implement the shipping service. Likewise, you can use any type of backend languages or backend tech stacks to implement those services. And the final thing is you can use these services and get connected to each other using the REST APIs. That's the most important thing. So that's the most powerful thing about the microservice architecture. And that's all about the microservice architecture at the moment. So if you want to need more about this, you can go through with the documentation and learn more about this also. Also, if you need to know, or if you need to, if you need any kind of resources, you can just drop me a mail, and I have mentioned my mail address in the last slide. Okay, let's move on to the Docker. Before moving to the Docker, you can see here a sample. In here, you can see an example about microservice architecture. So this is what it looked like. And let's move on to the Docker. Okay. In here, Docker. So first question is, I know that most of you students right now having this question. So what is Docker? What is Docker? That's the question. So Docker is a software platform that implements the process of building, running, managing, and distributing applications. So it does this by virtualizing the operating system of the computer on which it is installed and running. And when we are talking about Docker, we also should consider the virtual machines and the hypervisors. So let's have a look at Docker containers and virtual machines. So in here, you can see two diagrams, one for the Docker containers and one for the virtual machines. Yeah, first take a look about virtual machines. So a virtual machine is a computer resource that use software instead of a physical computer to run programs and deploy apps. So its resources and specifications are predefined. So we cannot change these things after setting up a virtual machine. But in a Docker container, it's done this by virtualizing the operating system of a computer on which it is installed and running. Also, Docker containers can be moved from one place to another. That means it's virtual, but the virtual machines cannot move from one place to another, right? That means the Docker containers, yeah, I have previously mentioned that. And the resources used for Docker containers can be extended as we needed. As an example, I have mentioned that before in the microservice architecture, if one type of service got, just think about that. If one of the services got used more than other services, we can update those resources regarding that particular service. So that's really easy when we are using Docker containers. So yeah. And just think for a moment, if we are, we have already talked about the microservice architecture, right? So just think, if it is installed and settled up in a Docker container, we can use it anywhere without having any difficulty with operating systems, right? So, and a computer resources. So because the both things are maintained separately in a Docker container. So because in Docker, we have already included the code, runtime environment, system libraries and tools and settings. It's really look like a ready-made thing. So you can use it anywhere just by deploying a Docker container. So it's really cool thing. So if you want to use Docker containers, you can use it anywhere without affecting the base operating system, likewise things. So it's really, I mean, it's really amazing if you are really if you really need to know about these things, just go through with the documentation. So there are so many tutorials available online, and also there are so many projects regarding these things available in online. So yeah, that's all about the Docker. So yeah, and my final topics. Let's move on to the Kubernetes. So what is Kubernetes? Before, yeah, sorry for the interruption. Before moving to the Kubernetes, this is the base architecture of the Docker containers. In here, you can see we can access Docker through the command line interface and a remote API. So as I previously mentioned, if you know how to use an API, you can use these services in your application really easily. So in the Docker architecture, they are using host services, and they are containing in here you can see called images. So these are the things basically called Docker images, and these are the Docker containers. So they are interconnected with the they are interconnected with the Docker registry. In the Docker registry, they are maintained separately as a Docker hub. So that's all about the Docker. And let's move on to the Kubernetes. As I previously mentioned, Kubernetes. So the second most important question is, what is Kubernetes? Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is a portable, extensible, open source platform for managing containerized workloads and services like Docker. So mainly use Kubernetes to declare configurations, configurations and automations to do the containers like Docker. So it has the largest rapidly growing ecosystem in the world. So this program developed by a team at Google and later donated to the Cloud Native Computer Foundation, also known as CNCF. But today, Kubernetes is a true open source community with engineers from Google, Red Hat, and many other companies actively contributing to this project. So basically, Kubernetes is a platform that autonomous Linux containers operations it eliminates many of the manual processes involved in deploying and scaling containerized applications, right? So it's really helpful when we are working with containers like Docker, as I previously mentioned. So what to do if it helps to manage our Docker containers easily and execute our projects. So that would be really helpful for us. Final thing, and I am running out of time. So I really would like to invite you all to get some hands-on experience of all of these topics. Most probably you haven't heard about these things before. Actually, I know that these things are really new to the industry. Also, these things are real new to you. As a second semester student. So if you're interested about DevOps and other things, so I think I know that most of the students are heard about the software engineers, developers are kind of things and kind of job types. So there are so many job vacancies out there with many types of names, right? As an example, there are so many job vacancies under DevOps engineers, software engineers, site reliability engineer, quality assurance, quality engineers, UI UX developers, automation engineers, system administrators, system architects, tech leads. Likewise, there are so many job opportunities available in the job market. So the most important thing, the consent of this ITP guide to uplift your knowledge about these new kind of things, and you have to get some hands-on experience on these things, and make sure to add those things in your resume. So it will make more valuable your resume than your other colleagues. So if you are really interested about new technologies, there are so many things called, as an example, you can get some hands-on experience on Vue.js, Spring Boot, also PostgreSQL, Kotlin, React Native, 3JS. Also, I have to mention that the 3JS. 3JS is a JavaScript library for 3D objects. So it's really amazing. So have a look about it. and also Cloudflare, Terraform, and those things are regarding to the DevOps engineers. And AWS Cloud also, if you are using Azure Clouds already, just take a look about AWS Cloud and how it's working. Also GitLab, Vue.js. So there are so many things, right? So give it a try and make sure to use these new technologies in your project as well. So it will be a new experience for you all. So if you have any doubts regarding anything about these technologies, feel free to contact me over my email or contact me over my mobile number. So that's all. That's all for today. And I'm running out of time. So finally, thank you. And I would like to hand over this session to Lakshana and have a nice day. Do your project as your best.
Yeah, thank you so much, Arya. I hope we all learned a lot from this session. So